Hello, my friends. My name is Raymond Giovanni. I'm a independent writer and publisher. For fun, I do it as a hobby. I wanted to chime in on some recent events in the evolution versus creationist debate, because I find it really disturbing that this the right wing evangelical, mainly Republican faction in this country has managed to bully their way into our schools now. Here's what's going on. These people are arguing that the earth is 6,000 years old, that they even have a creationist museum. This guy called Ken Ham. They have like a $27 million a year budget, and this huge budget, and that shows you that how much ignorance there is in this country. From what I'm reading about, 1 out of 4 people in the United States don't know that the earth spins around the sun. It's pretty sad, we're a country where technology basically rules our lives. I'm using my phone to record and download straight to the internet, and everybody has their very advanced cars, and so we're consumers of science and technology and all the benefits, yet this country has, as far as education and science education goes, is about 100 years behind other technologically advanced countries as far as in education. And that makes it a prime place for people like this people, the right-wing evangelical fundamentalists, to make a living, because basically that's what they're doing. They argue. I think they even show it to children in this museums, and that man rode around on T-Rex. Basically, they put a saddle on T-Rex, on Tyrannosaurus Rex, and rode around and used it as a horse to hunt. And I guess they consider the Flintstones a documentary or something. I mean, really, it's really crazy. They argue that the Grand Canyon in Colorado was made during the Great Flood, where their God, Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever they call it, flooded the earth, and that canyon was the product of a flood, of a wild river or a flood that ran through it and it carved it in a few days, I think. And when evidence shows otherwise, I mean, well, we all know that thing took millions of years. It's been demonstrated by science, and they don't believe in any carbon dating evidence, even though it's been scientifically proven and shown and everything, Yet they use technology and also use, for example, the argument that who made DNA. Well, as science advances, we get more answers and more answers. So they discount the advances of science, and they don't take the word of science into consideration, yet they use science in their argument. Basically, like for this guy, what's his name, the racist, the homophobic duck hunter, Phil Robertson. He says that before the Great Flood, humans were vegetarians. This is scary, because these people are actually succeeded. For instance, I think in Georgia, now evolution, they passed a law where evolution cannot be taught as a fact, only as a theory, because here's the word game that they use. A theory, they say, it's not been proven, even though there are millions of pieces of fossil records, dated by paleontologists and scientists who have dedicated their lives to studying this, and objectively and empirically. And these people, with one swipe and an organized demagoguery campaign, have all of a sudden forced our children, not mine, because if they come to Florida, I'm going to fight it. I'm urging the parents of children who are going to the schools where this Bible thumpers are bullying their way in, to go and stand up against these people and tell them that you don't want some Middle Eastern genocidal mythology being taught as fact in your classrooms. That not only that, it's they don't pay taxes. They don't pay a red cent in taxes. It's all, we basically finance their churches, because they're all, if they go buy anything that they buy for their churches, they don't pay sales tax. They don't pay income tax. The money that gets donated to them and to their palaces, their $20 million churches, mega churches, and whatever. They don't pay a red cent in tax. Yet they're forcing their way into their schools. So now, basically in Georgia, and I think Tennessee or Kentucky or something, they basically pass ordinances that creationism, this myth that man rode around on top of a T-Rex or a Velociraptor, and I guess the mailman back then flew on a pterodactyl, giving out their letters to the Flintstones, that this is going to be taught side by side with proved science. This myth, it's an absolute myth, and it's been debunked 1,000 times. There's not even evidence that even Jesus existed. There's not. People say, well, it's like denying the Holocaust. No, it's not. Basically, the Bible was put together by Constantine, which was this emperor, Roman emperor, who was a politician and a lunatic and a murderer, like all of them were. And they burned hundreds of books, and they basically sat down and decided which books were going to go in the Bible. It was originally 74 books. Then after Luther, they went down to 66 books. But none of these books were written by any of the apostles. It was a bunch of mythology. They're conflicting accounts of this mythological creature. There's even arguments about. They're saying that Joseph and Mary went to Jerusalem for the census. And there was no census in that year when they said, and censuses, people did not get out of their houses to do censuses. The people from the Roman Empire went to people's houses to do a census, just like they do it today. Can you imagine you having to go every 10 years, the whole population get out of their house to get counted somewhere? No, they come to you just like they did before. So all this conflict, there's not one mention of Jesus in any Roman historical account, and they wrote down everything they did, even down to the farts. I was one time a part of organized religion, and then I read the whole Bible, and I wanted nothing to do with it after I saw all the homophobic, genocidal speech in there. I mean, if you read Leviticus, Leviticus calls for the murder of people who don't believe in God, even if they're your family. You read Leviticus, it says even your own family, they're put them to death. And they call for the assassination and the murder of homosexuals. And they call Paul, this guy who was a mass murderer, the guy from the New Testament, he used to round up and chase Christians, and he'll round them up like cattle, and he'll sell them or give them to the Romans to be burnt at the Colosseum for being Christian. This guy basically murdered women and children. And now this guy, from what I've researched, he did exist. And now this is the same person that people are quoting when they're preaching and stuff. And this is the guy who wrote all this homophobic stuff and all this hateful stuff. I think it was Romans or Hebrews. Corinthians. He's full of hate. This guy about the people who are not going to heaven according to him. Now, mind you, this is their religion, and this is the mentality and the myth that they want to teach in schools, our secular schools, as fact, side by side with proven scientific data like evolution. Now, these people don't believe in evolution, yet every 3 months they have to go and change their roach spray because roaches evolve, and due to the pressure of selection. Now, in this case, it's not natural; it's an outside selector, meaning the poison that the human is putting on them. A few of them survive, and those breed, and they become a new generation that has evolved to be resistant to roach spray. Okay, but as these people are preaching this, that this evolution does not exist, they go and buy their roach spray. As the same thing they do when they go to the doctor, and the old antibiotic does not work because the pathogen has evolved. They have found a way to for their lactam ring to not be susceptible to the action of the antibiotic. And they say that science has not done anything yet. We're 7 billion strong as a race because of the advent of science and medicine. Actually, the religions basically have committed genocide. These two religions, the children of Abraham, Ishmael, which is the firstborn, which was born from the maid. Then the maid had Ishmael, and which was the first one, but it was not legitimate. Here starts the classism again. Here comes classism, showing his ugly head. Then Sarah, which was the legitimate wife, according to this myth, she got pregnant at 90 years old and had Isaac. Now Isaac, this is where all the Jews came from, and Ishmael is where all the Arabs came from. Now, these people are cousins that have been killing each other forever. And it's one story after the other one. They're still killing each other. And the world, we in the Western Hemisphere, continue to support this genocidal, doctrines from those people. Now, we're complaining about the Muslims, all this killing and all this stuff, yet the Christians have done the same thing. The Crusades, it was all murder all the Muslims murder all the Christians, and then they used to children to keep their voices high in the Catholic Church. They castrate and they cut their testicles off to stave off the release of testosterone in puberty and keep their voices high pitched. They call it castrati. Okay, castrati. All right, in Latin or Italian. They did this. They kept these children around, cut their balls off so they could praise God with a higher pitched voice. How brutal. There's still mutilations in Africa right now of girls' breasts. They cut their breasts off. They cut their clitoris off because pleasure is against God. The Ugandan minister of something came out the other day in an interview and said that it's okay if boys rape girls. And this is a minister, a Christian minister, the right-wing evangelical of this country, the United States. They're financing missionary work in Africa, and they're lobbying they're lobbying governments in Africa to institute this draconian measures against homosexuals, that even some of them are called for their murder or the death penalty or life imprisonment of people just because they're homosexual. And these people are financing this. If you don't believe me, look it up. It's all over. The information is available. Yet we still have not. We still not outraged at these people. and they continue to try to force their genocidal Middle Eastern mythologies down our throats and our children's throats. And I'm urging you to not let this happen. Not only did they delay the advances of science, because if you spoke against the church, they burned you, just like the Inquisition did. They started wars. It was horrendous what all these people have done. They came to the Americas with the cross, and if you did not convert to Christianism or Catholicism, they cut your head off. They enslaved everybody. In the name of God, the Europeans, and they came here and looted and sacked the Native Americans, the peoples of the Central South America. They took all their gold. They raped their children, their wives. It was the biggest genocide of all history. It was not Hitler's. It was the genocide of the Native Americans by the Europeans in the name of God. Now they hid behind that and say, well, but wasn't the church? It was financed by them, and all the gold and all the cathedrals in Europe and Spain and Italy and even Mexico, they stole it from them, and they show it in blatantly. Not only that, now we have this, which has always been. When was the last time we prosecuted a priest for raping children? The Pope, the last Pope, he covered up and it's documented that he covered up everything, all the rapes of the children in Europe. And it happened, all they did was transfer the priests to another place so they could rape at that other place, rape children. And in Central America it's even worse because of the authority of the church, and people still respect that. They respect the church, the same church that raped their ancestors, murdered them, committed genocide against their ancestors, enslaved them, took their gold and their land. They're still worshiping these people, and they want to continue to do this. Now they're passing it into law, and I'm urging you, if you're out there, think about what you're doing. I'm an atheist. You don't have to be an atheist. You believe in whatever you want to believe. There was one time where I was a believer until I read and started thinking about all this stuff, and it's like this or miss. This is Santa Claus, but with weapons of mass destruction, basically. So whenever they come to your town, pay attention to these people, to the news. They're going to have town meetings and all kinds of stuff like that to decide, and city council meetings and all that stuff. Show up there and show your support. Don't let these people continue their path of destruction with their genocidal mythologies. Even if you are a believer, think about what these people are. There's no love behind any of this. There is no love, because, and then all this crap about telling children that they're born with something dirty that they need to be washed off by converting to something, or my baby was not born dirty. Okay, my children are born perfect, and actually children are all born atheists, and then we fuck it all up and start telling them stories. So, and again, think about what you're doing, what type of world you want to leave your children, and understand that you don't need to belong to any church to be loving and to protect your children's future, which is what I think we should be doing, instead of feeding them all these lies and voting for all these demagogues to control the population. Thank you very much.